Hello and welcome to more shit talking by David Hughes Jr. Yes, I'm using profanity. I'm not monetized, so I do what I want to do so far. But anyways, today we're talking about obesity and we're talking about Joe Rogan and we're talking about a doctor whose name I cannot remember at this particular time. However, she is a doctor. And basically, just to give you guys somewhat of a, cliff note version of what she said, she basically said obesity, the number one cause of it is genetics. And then Joe Rogan, I saw this on Joe Rogan, and then I saw a couple more people talk about it, and I seen a couple more people talk about it, so I said, I'm gonna talk about it. But then Joe Rogan came on, and he was talking, and they basically like, no, that's not necessarily it. The reason why is because they're doing the wrong things and stuff like that. I'm gonna just let y'all listen to Joe. I'm gonna let y'all listen to the doctor, and we can kind of talk about this here in a second. So without me talking way too much, and if I can break my damn chair, I would, but this chair's sturdy and it got a little kind of creak in it. It's a good chair. Anyway, let's roll a clip.
Starting with news, debate, and questions around obesity, which, hey, it's a very sensitive topic. It's very emotionally charged, especially here in the United States, where you have the CDC saying that 41.9% of the population is obese and 9.2% have severe obesity. In fact, it's so prevalent, the estimated cost of obesity in the United States was nearly $173 billion in 2019. And right now, we're seeing a lot of people ask the question, do doctors understand obesity? And this in part due to recent comments from Joe Rogan. But looking further back, it actually stems from a 60 Minutes segment from January, right? Because there you had Dr. Fatima Cody Stanford, an assistant professor at Harvard, talking about obesity and saying that it's very misunderstood, including by people in the medical field, explaining that it's a brain disease that basically tells you how much to eat and how much to store.
For many of us, we can go on a diet, something like The Biggest Loser, right? You go and you restrict people. For most people, they will acutely lose weight. But 96% of those participants in The Biggest Loser regained their weight because their brain worked well. It was supposed to bring them back to store what they needed or what the brain thinks it needs.
We're saying that when it comes to weight loss for patients struggling with medical obesity, willpower and determination aren't the solutions the way many people think they are. And adding that you need to understand the factors and causes of obesity, including genetics.
But the number one cause of obesity is genetics. That means if you are born to parents that have obesity, you have a 50 to 85% likelihood of having the disease yourself, even with optimal diet, exercise, sleep management, stress management.
And her claims there were backed up by other documents on the segment as well.
Don't you think if people walking down the street with obesity, stigmatized as they are, shunned, don't you think if they could lose weight and keep it off, they would?
Right, so the piece provides an interesting, different look at obesity and the reality of losing weight for many patients. And notably, the doctor featured, Dr. Stanford's actually part of the 2025 Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee under the Departments of Health and Human Services and Agriculture. So when that news came to light last month, we saw primarily right-leaning outlets having kind of an outrage field day. With Fox News, for example, running with the headline, Biden admin expert claims obesity cannot be treated with exercise and good diet. And the New York Post saying, physician who claimed obesity can't be treated with diet and exercise joins Biden administration. Right, with a number of people saying, hey, you're taking her point about obesity and weight loss and genetics out of context. And all that brings us to this week, where Joe Rogan discussed Dr. Stanford on his podcast and condemned her claims that genetics can prevent obese people from losing weight.
The data shows that most people who are obese have obese parents and they come from an obese family, but they're all doing the wrong thing. There's not like a person in that family that's eating grass-fed steak and running marathons and lifting weights and getting up at 6 in the morning and getting in a cold plunge and doing all these different things, but it's still fat as
Right, that obviously contradicting some of what Dr. Stanford said, though he did say he thinks there is merit to the idea that obesity is not fully a person's fault, or that they're simply modeling behavior that they saw growing up, that they're a product of their environment.
But to say that all obesity is just genetic is bonkers. That's a bonkers thing to say, and it discredits all these people that we know that were obese that without surgery lost all that weight and looked great.
Though to be fair to Dr. Stanford, that's not what she said. She didn't say all obesity is just genetic. She said it is the number one cause, right? It's the leading cause, right? Those are drastically different things. You could have a leading cause of something that's, I don't know, as low as like 30%, or I'm just pulling that number out of my ass. It could be as low as whatever, as long as there's not a higher percentage of something else. Or the way the doctor's talking about it, it sounds like the search for a solution. But the clip from Joe, it mischaracterizes that to make it sound like she believes that it's the all-encompassing thing and is just trying to give people excuses. Which, I mean, I understand why you would get angry hearing that, but that's also not what she actually said.
All right, so shout out to Philip for that clip, because what I was going to do initially was not that good. And so when I found that video and he was doing something similar to that, I was like, that is amazing. So shout out to you. Anyways, let's talk about this. So I feel like this is one of the no, latest cases of people saying things that are true and just claiming that somebody else is wrong because they feel like they're what they're saying is more true, but everything is kind of true. So I'm not saying, I don't know, I haven't read the article, I don't know if genetics is the number one cause, but like he said, it could be the number one cause but not be the only cause. And so I do agree on that point, because the thing about it is, when you are born to parents who are obese or like heavier, more than likely they're going to eat the same way and feed you the same food that got them in the point that they are in. But at the same time, you can be more pre-exposed to putting on fat than somebody else. Your metabolism can be different. You can be born with these different things that are out of your control. Can everybody lose weight with diet and exercise? Yes. Calories in, calories out is the number one most effective way in order for you to lose weight. However, some people start at a different position than other people. It's easy, man. You look around the world, if you look around everything, everybody is born a certain way, everybody is born differently. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that somebody can be born with a little bit more fat on them than somebody else. Somebody can be born pre-exposed or more likely to do something, or in this case, more likely to be fat. It's common sense, I would think, but at the same time, it's true that you, just because you were put in a position doesn't mean you cannot get out of that position with diet and exercise. This is great. I love it when people are saying so much truth, but they're like pointing a finger, like, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. No, you're wrong, and I'm right, because what I say is more right. You ever take a test and they say all of these answers are correct, but pick the most correct answer, and you're sitting there at the test, you're like, I'm gonna fail. Look, we are setting up people who are obese to fail with just going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Man, they're gonna fail the test. They're gonna fail the test. Okay, they're gonna fail the test. Everybody needs to understand, and this is me personally, everybody needs to understand, you in this world, you're going to be put in certain positions in life. Some people start closer to certain lines, some people start farther away from certain lines, okay? And that's just the way it is. Some people are born with more money than you, some people are born better looking than you, some people are born with more speed, some people are born with more charisma. It's different things in this world that we're born with. Some people are born more fat. I think it's simple. Look, everybody should try their best to strive and live a healthy lifestyle. Go to the gym more often, at least 3 times a week. If you're watching the video, you're curious of my opinions on this, go to the gym at least 3 times a week. You know what I'm saying? Get your cardio on, which cardio is not going to inherently make you lose fat. That's a myth, by the way. It's not going to make you lose fat. It help you burn off the calories that you need in order to get the equation of calories in, calories out, in order to lose that weight. All right. So I don't want to go on forever, but what I do want to say about the entire situation is that everybody should strive to be the best versions of themselves, no matter how, no, I can't talk. I'm sorry. And I'm not going to cut it out. No matter how, no matter how, like, no matter how you're born, no matter the position you're in, you need to strive to be better versions of yourself. Be in a race with yourself. And I heard that from somebody. I think it was David Goggins. Be in a race with yourself. I heard that like 2 days ago. Be in a race with yourself and strive to be the better version of yourself each and every day. And that's all we can do. That's all we can do, because we all are born with certain genetic things, certain environmental things that are gonna hinder our progress a little bit. It's gonna slow you down, but you can't let it stop you. Yield, man, yield, but don't stop. All right. So anyways, man, that's my thought on it. Let me know your opinions down below. If you agree with the doc, if you agree with Joe, let me know down below. And that was a bar. Not really. I'm out.